I want to change the world, that I want to make an impact wherever it might be. If that's preaching, if that's running for office, it's not a platform that I want to let people know who I am, but it's a platform that I want to let people know what this world's really about, what God, the purpose that God put us where we are. And a lot of people, they might say like, you can't do that, or you can't continue with that. That's not a message that people want to hear. But at the end of the day, God put you on this earth for the same reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of the Infinite Charge podcast. I am your host, Malachi White, and I'm accompanied by
Mr. Tyler Jones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And sitting right here to my right is Devon Pinder. He is a close friend of mine, somebody who I consider like a brother. And Devon is currently enrolled at Rutgers University. He is studying to be a certified public accountant. He is a pillar in the South Plainfield community. He is a fellow member of the Unity Unleashed group. He is a part of the Middlesex County Young Democrats. He is a chair member of the Metuchen Edison Piscataway NAACP. And he is also a current candidate. He's currently running to be on the South Plainfield Board of Education. My goodness,
Yes,
boy, is
sir.
that a
Yes,
resume.
sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Ty. I look forward. This is going to be a great show.
Absolutely, man. It's been a long time coming. I remember when you first announced that you were running. You posted on your Instagram a picture of like the newspaper headlines, and the headline said teenager, I believe, something like that, running to be on the South
Team
Plainfield
brings
board.
hope. Yeah,
team brings hope or something. I just read it and I was like, wow, and just a little bit of background on the Unity Unleashed group. We're currently at our good friend Joe's apartment shooting this episode, but Joe is the person who pretty much got a group chat full of guys who are just movers and shakers within Middlesex County who are looking to do big things, whether it's run for office or just simply do community service.
Give back.
Yeah, to give back to the community. Joe reached out to me to be in the group. I hope to have Joe on this podcast as well someday. But I met Devon through the group as well. And I remember we were just in a Zoom, and then he shot me a text message. He was like, hey, let's connect. My name is Devon or whatever. And then from there, we just been solid ever since then.
Yeah.
Yep. So today we are going to be speaking about a few different things. We definitely want to speak about the system, right? I feel like sometimes in our community from time to time, we feel like the system is so broke that it's not even worth getting involved with politics or anything like that. Yeah. So we'll touch on that, but we really want to speak on leadership through servitude, which is something that is very important. And here at Infinite Charge, we believe that the more you do for others, the more God can do for you. Yeah. And you're not running to be on the board just for people to know your name. Yeah. You're running to be on the board because you were a student just not so long ago, and you know what South Plainfield needs moving forward, going into the future.
Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, man, I think let's get into some prayers. So before the cameras were rolling and everything, I asked you, I said, hey D, is it cool if since how we do this thing, me and Ty are Christian brothers, you said you're a Christian brother as well. And I asked you and you didn't even hesitate. You were like, oh yeah, man, that's my
specialty. I love to give thanks.
And that's listen, man, we hope that could be a lot of people's specialty. Yep. So yeah, man, let's get into some prayer for sure. Let's into the Lord.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for letting us come together, dear Lord, to magnify your name, to utilize who you are, to give us a voice, to let you speak through us, dear Lord, to use what we have in our community to bring forth your message and your good news, to empower others through what we do, dear Lord. And I thank you for this fellowship that I have with Ty and that I have with Malachi. for letting us come together and cross paths so that we could continue to uplift you and know who you are and teach others about your ways and demonstrate your lifestyle through our actions, dear Lord. And we thank you and we can't praise you enough. And we ask you to bless these viewers, dear Lord, and touch them in their hearts. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Wow. This is gonna be a good one, man. Don't forget about me. I'm still here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. So speaking of that, since you're here, I know that you have a good idea of leadership through servitude. But when we talked about infinite charge, it's not only about educating the end viewer, the end listener or the viewer or whatever. It's about us educating ourselves as well. So you're somebody who is even more involved with community service and things like that. So for me and Ty, right, let's say we don't know much about maybe entry level work, like community service work, you know, groundwork and stuff like that. Like, what is the importance of leadership through servitude, and why is it an important thing for anybody to get involved with?
No, you're absolutely right. I want to accredit it, or I want to go about it as kind of like a wait in line kind of perspective.
Right.
Because I've been doing community service my whole life and well over 10 years, I want to say, either through sports or whatever it might have been. I've always been, I'd like to say, fighting on the front line and whatever I was passionate about, even if it was playing basketball or something simple as that.
Right.
But it took time. It definitely took time for me to get, I don't want to say the recognition,
right,
but to be pointed out and said, and someone told me, there's that leadership quality in you. I can see something coming into your future. And it's definitely a flex that I would love to keep on my shoulder, but it's definitely a reality, a snap into reality when someone tells you you have leadership qualities, because you're sitting around, and one of my favorite songs is Background by Lecrae.
And I love Lecrae. Ty, you know I like Lecrae. I love Lecrae.
Yeah,
I could play the background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So back a couple years, a long time ago, me and my boy, we were in a play in our home church, a Cedar Croft Bible Chapel, and we performed that song together. I did the Andy Mineo parts. I was Lecrae.
You're Lecrae,
but he was Andy Mineo. So we had a 1-2 punch going.
Okay,
but that's one of my favorite songs because you're having that mindset. Lecrae and Andy Mineo had that mindset. They just want to sit in the back. They just want to do as they're told, and they don't want to take the front stage. They don't want to be front and center. But that's God's perspective. God's supposed to be the person front and center.
Right.
So for him to speak through you and take away that kind of front and center appearance, because if you're, one of the things that I prayed about, if God is leading through you and demonstrating his lifestyle through you, they don't acknowledge you as the person. They say you have those godly qualities. They say you have leadership qualities. They say you have a specific set of qualities that makes you stand out opposed to other people.
Wow.
So like I said, I've been doing community service, working with other people my whole life. And it wasn't about me. It never was about me.
Right.
It was about showing them God's spirit, showing them how God interacted in my life and set me on the path where I can talk to people, or through what I do one-on-one. If I'm holding something in my hand, someone sees like, oh my goodness, this person's holding more than just a water bottle, or this person's doing more than just picking up trash on the side of a street. They see that my whole lifestyle is about doing more than just the minimum or the required. So those leadership qualities isn't something you search for. There's something that's given to you.
Yeah.
It's something that you can sit back and say, you can't say, when am I going to get these leadership qualities? When am I going to become a leader?
Right.
It's when someone sees what God has put in your life and blessed you with, that you realize I have more than, I have so much more than what I give to offer. So letting that speak to you is really that turning moment in your life. And that's what happened to me.
Wow. This reminds me of Man, he just came in. He was ready to get right into it. I mean, I just feel so charged just listening to your answer to such a basic question. And I want to say that me and Ty, the last episode, we talked about how things connect. And pretty much for everybody who's listening, Divon is a testament to what we're saying. Like, literally, what he just
definition of infinite. That's the definition of infinite charge, man.
It is. And I like how you said you took the mindset of just playing, just settling and taking the background. And I shouldn't say settling, but you took the background because you knew that with God center stage, you can't go wrong. You were going to be able to do some things.
And you played your role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's what we talked about with last episode, this whole idea of just freedom and surrender.
Yeah.
You know, just relaxing, allowing God's spirit to work through you. Yeah. You said that you don't get the credit. It's the spirit that God put within you that gets the credit. And I love that you said that. And that's, I mean, man, it just.
Wow, that's a beautiful answer, man. I know what we got in tune right now is going to be something special, man.
Sure.
We're going to start preaching in here.
Oh, yeah. We got the water bottles and everything. Ty got his water right there. All we missing is just a little towel to wipe the face. You know what I mean? But yeah, so let's take this thing back, man. Let's take it back to when you were a youngin'. And and you were pretty much, and your parents were pretty much setting you up to go down this route that you're on.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like?
Absolutely. So you hit on it when you were given that little introduction saying that the system was broken. I'm a strong believer in the system's broken. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that to discourage anyone, but really it's a reality check. And a lot of people don't acknowledge that the system's broken.
Right.
For example, I grew up, my father wasn't around. He's around now, but he was in and out of jail my whole life growing up. So my mother was played both parents. My 5 siblings were always there for me. And I wouldn't be the person that I am without my mom, without my siblings. And it was really through her that she put these mentors in my life, these friends of hers, whoever it might have been that she came in contact with. They knew that I was always by her side. So even today, as I'm running for Board of Education or whatever I'm running for, they always recognize me as my mom's son. They always recognize me as my mom's child. Yeah. And I love that because I wouldn't be here without her. I wouldn't be here without anything that she's done for me.
Right.
Because she literally absolutely God number one, and he put me on this earth for a reason. But he put this amazing woman in my life.
Wow.
To walk with and to guide me. She always wakes me up every Sunday and says, let's go to church. Let's Friday nights, let's go to youth. You have youth night. Wednesday, you have choir, whatever it might have been. My mom was always doing the work of the Lord and making sure that God was the focal point in my life. And she was just doing his will and making sure it came in through my life. So to counter back to the point where I said my father fell into the ways of the system, it was always, sometimes I wasn't always the best child, and I can say that, but there's that expectation in the world that you get that as a Black man, you're not going to succeed in the system. I'm sure you heard it. I'm sure, Ty, you've heard it.
Yeah.
We've always been set up in this world where we're going to get one of those basic custodial jobs or cleaning up or whatever barbershop or whatever it might have been.
Right.
We're not going to become the face of a company. We're not going to become a big politician. We're not going to become an educator. God forbid you see a teacher that looks like us.
Right.
God forbid there's someone else in our lives that we were supposed to interact with every day, a coach, a teacher, a principal. You don't find them that look like us. And that's part of the problem. How are we supposed to aspire to be something that we don't know? How are we supposed to aspire to be someone in a position where they can make a change if they were never given the opportunity to be put in that situation?
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying right now?
Yeah.
It's where we are and understanding that maybe these goals aren't realistic. Maybe someone tells us these goals aren't realistic. Maybe we're being taught, oh, you don't want to be a teacher. You're not going to enjoy it. How would they know? Just because they're a teacher, they don't know what you like. They don't know what you love. They don't know what you're passionate about. Right. How are they going to tell you can't be this? How are they going to tell you that you can't be an athlete in a sport that you've played for 10 years?
Wow.
It's that kind of knocking off the haters off your shoulder, as I'd like to say.
Right.
Because you don't know who's a hater. Your best friend could be a hater. Yeah. The girl's parents that you're in love with, they could be haters.
Right. Yeah.
They could say that their daughter isn't right for you. Never happened to me, but I'm just saying. As far as my childhood growing up, when I graduated high school in 2019, I got so many scholarships. Wow. Because I applied to them. It's all about applying yourself to those positions. Nothing's impossible. And the thing is, one of my favorite quotes, I can't quote it off the top of my head, but it's nothing comes, if it was easy, everyone would do it. That's the thing. And at the end of the day, just because your best friend didn't apply, just because the smartest kids in your grade didn't apply, doesn't mean you don't have to apply. Or just because they did apply doesn't mean you don't have to apply. As long as you put yourself out there, something can happen or something might not happen, but you'll never know if you don't do it.
It's all about showing up.
Absolutely. Show up and don't show out.
Yeah. Yep. I show up and let God show out.
Yes.
That's what it is.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
So when I applied for all these scholarships in high school, everyone was like, why you got called up so many times back to back? And I'm like, because I just put myself out there.
Right.
I put my name on that paper. I wrote whatever the little essay was, and I just wished for the best. I prayed for the best, and the best ended up happening.
So I'm sorry to cut you. I have a question though. You talk about when you talk about applying yourself, right? I mean, for the person who's listening to this right now, I would like to say that they're applying themselves because they're putting themselves in position to learn something maybe that they may not have known before listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Or even if they know, they have a basic idea of what we're talking about, they're applying themselves because instead they could be listening to anything, but they choose to listen to something that's productive. Yeah. My question is this: for those people who aren't even in the demographic that this podcast will reach, those people who aren't looking for, those people who just are so used to not applying themselves that just the idea of applying themselves is like kryptonite to them.
Yeah.
How could somebody who's used to just hiding in the shadows, not doing anything, or just doing enough to get by, how can they start applying themselves early? Use
your voice. Just because you're not that certain demographic, or just because you don't know my struggle, Malachi's struggle, Ty's struggle, overall, when I'm just saying struggle, I mean like the Black struggle or the minority struggle, or just any struggle that we've faced in our career, in our lives. Just use your voice. Say that you have friends, and if at the end of the day, if you aren't familiar with these struggles or the situations that's surrounding where you are, reach out to someone, because not every story is alike. You're not going to find someone the same as you. You're not going to find someone who hasn't been unaffected. And if you have been, I'd say it's going to happen sooner or later. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but for example, you're saying someone that's been unaffected for something all these years.
Right.
You can't just sit by and coast. And I've learned that through my community service, if I take a break, no one's going to come knocking on your door for more involvement. It's all about, like I said, applying yourself. You're not going to coast. When times are getting hard, you're going to have to reach out to someone. When something out of the ordinary happens, you need to utilize those people surrounding you to move forward.
Right.
And I'm not just saying you're hit with not getting the job that you applied for, or not getting into the school that you applied for. but I'm saying like a death in the family, like someone who motivated you or mentored you, a close parent, a grandparent, whatever it might have been, it's going to hit you. And it's a reality check. Like these are things that are prone to happen. Sooner, later, whenever it is in time, it's going to hit you. And they're not things that you could prepare for. They're certainly not.
Right.
Like you could say that it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. But when it happens, your mind is going to take a full 180.
It is.
You're not going
regardless.
to... Go ahead.
Regardless. You're right.
Yeah, it's something that you cannot be prepared for. So I just want to say, utilize your resources, utilize where you are, reach out to someone. And if all else at the end of the day, use your voice. I'd like to say that these phones, these social media, what we have, it's a dangerous thing. You take to Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, TikTok, that's what kids are using these days.
Right.
You just post a message on there. Even if you have 5 friends that look at your stories, look at your posts, those 5 friends have 5 friends. Their 5 friends have 5 friends each. And it's just a cycle. Like I said, these phones, these computers, they're the most awful things to have, but they're effective.
They are.
They're extremely effective. You can say, I'm just going to blurt it out here. I don't know if this is going to be controversial and you might have to cross it off, but you could say, I want to kill myself. And they can get you to 911 like that. You 10, even if you have 5 friends, 15, 20 people are going to reach out to you and say, hey, what can we do to help? Right. It's people that might not even know you that are going to reach out and give you that assistance, give you that guidance, help you. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but what you're saying right now is so vital because a lot of people feel like they're on this realm of life by themselves.
Yeah.
And they can't really speak out or they think no one's going to understand them.
Yeah.
When really that's not true because we're all humans. We all have the same feelings, but we just deal with them differently.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Of course, man.
So funny thing that Ty, you just hit on that. I was driving home from my brother's house today, actually, and I saw this really nice workout bench in front of this lady's front yard. And when I was talking to her, she was cutting her grass at the time. And I reached out, I was like, hey, can I have this? She was like, please take it. But then I was looking at her yard and she had one of those, like the science is for real, the people, all lives, like not all lives matter, but everybody's human, that sign, where it's just representing everyone in this world, every spectrum. And I was like, she had a couple of other signs, but I was like, I love your lawn signs. And she was like, thank you. If I have a guest that comes into my yard, I put this right in front of the house where they're coming in, right in front of the fence, right where they're coming in, so that they need to acknowledge this sign, because at the end of the day, we're all we have. And that spoke volume to me. Wow. Because we didn't look alike. She might have been in her 50s. She was a white woman. We're polar opposite people, but she said, we're all we have. We don't know each other. Like, she just had a workout bench. I didn't even know her.
Right.
But it speaks power that we're all we have. And that's all I can say. I'm at a loss of words because
that's powerful though.
Literally.
That's powerful. I mean, it's just like sometimes we just all get so caught up in our own struggles that we forget that just because that person don't have a background as you are, they might not have faced the same things. They're still human. We all struggle in some ways. Yeah. And I mean, it's just acts of kindness like that. That goes a long way. Yeah. I mean, I know if I can do something small like that, or if I could help somebody to cross the street, or, you know, if I can do those gestures go so far, because it proves not just to yourself, but to the person on the other end that there's still some good in this world. There are still, you can't look at somebody and tell just who they are. You have to give them that opportunity to show them who you are. Yeah. And that lady showed you, and you showed that lady who you were by acknowledging her signs.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have quite easily just took the workout bench and left.
Yeah. Kept pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So, Devon, right?
Yes, sir.
What would like growing up or in general, like, did you know you were meant for this? Like, did you know this was your purpose, or do you feel like this is your purpose?
I definitely I'm going to ask you to define what you mean by this, because like right now I'm running for office. I'm in all these various positions, but
yeah, that's what I mean.
That's exactly what you mean.
So pretty much what he's asking you is, from growing up, did you know that you would be going down this path that you're going down and doing what you're doing today? Did you know that? How soon did you know that?
The reason I wanted him to define this is because I want to say maybe at the age of 12, I started preaching and I started delivering sermons, even if it was something simple as praying at the end of service.
I'm sorry.
Cut me off.
I'm so sorry. Ty, you are a witness to this. Have I talked about the age of 12 before? Have I talked about how Jesus was preaching in the synagogues by the age of 12? My brother came on here and said he was started to find himself at 12. I've said this before. I started to find myself at 12. It's the age of 12 is something so special about it. Not that we're going to talk about it now, but you could continue your story, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words. If you can't say the Spirit of God isn't working in here, I don't know what this is, because this is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But to continue, I want to say at the age of 12, I probably started preaching, maybe even just praying at the end of services. And a lot of people, my siblings always joke with me. They're like, you prayed for the grass, you prayed for the birds in the sky, you prayed for the color of whatever it might have been, the podium that you were standing in front of, but you prayed forever. And I always joke with them, but those prayers were powerful. You didn't walk out and the grass was purple. You didn't walk out and the sky was orange, but they stayed the same, because God isn't going to switch up on you. God is always going to be the same today, tomorrow, next year, whenever it is. God's always going to remain consistent with you. But to get back to what I was saying is I started just going and expressing my faith and my love around that young age. And at the same time, I was still doing those community service things. But it was really then when people tapped into those leadership qualities, when they were like, we want you to deliver this message. We want you to come to our church and preach and give this sermon right out of God's holy word. So through that, I was like, God, use me as I am, use me as your child.
Right.
And from there, if it was preaching, if it was talking to my classmates or being vocal in a sport, whatever it might have been, I was always just using my voice. And like I said, using your voice is a huge thing, a huge component that you can't go back on. Like I have to say, it was tapping into that preaching and that delivering sermons that really said, I want to, and I always say, I literally went to a retirement party for one of my mentors, I want to say. And I literally said, it was through you guys that told me that I want to change the world, that I want to make an impact wherever it might be. If that's preaching, if that's running for office, it's not a platform that I want to let people know who I am, but it's a platform that I want to let people know what this world's really about, what God, the purpose that God put us where we are. And a lot of people, they might say like, you can't do that, or you can't continue with that. That's not a message that people want to hear. But at the end of the day, God put you on this earth for the same reason.
Exactly.
So if you're not going to sit by and listen to this message, someone else is going to tell you. Someone else is going to be familiar with this message. And sooner or later, you're going to have to open your ears. Or if you're not going to open your ears, I'd like to say God's going to open your heart.
Oh, yeah. So I have a question, though. So it's like, And I've heard this before too.
Yeah.
Why is it that people believe? Why is it that it's so hard for people to incorporate God as they go up the ranks, whether it's politics or anything? Like, why is it so hard for people to bring those morals and those principles that they learned from a child, like what you're speaking about now? Why is it so hard for people to carry that with them all the way to the top? What makes it so hard, like in politics and things like that?
That's an easy concept that can also be very complex. To make it an easy answer, they lose sight of the prize. And with that, in politics, I want to be the president. I want to be the governor. I want to be the senator. What can I do to be the senator? What can I do to be the governor? What can I do to be the president? That's all they're focused on. They think of it as a straight path, and they're like, there's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right. It's right here. It's right in front of me. I have to conform to this world. And that's another one of my verses that I like to preach on. They like to conform to the ways of the world.
Right.
And if that might be taking money or whatever, taking away jobs from people or I'm going very complex in making
but no, this is policy.
This is really kind of like do whatever it takes.
Yeah, they're literally willing to do whatever it takes if that means losing their soul, as God says.
Yeah.
And that's the problem in this world. People are willing to do that to get to their earthly goal.
Yeah. So,
all right. So, my question, I know you talked about, understanding your role and playing your role, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person out there that, doesn't quite understand their role? They think they're meant to be the star of the show, and everybody else around them is irrelevant. What would you say to the people that don't know how to play their role? And how can they play their role?
I'd say to them that their time's going to come. And from the perspective that I'm looking at, I used to work at a school, and sometimes I would be with kindergartners or first graders or second graders, and they'd all want to be center stage. They'd all want to just sit in the front or talk the whole time or do whatever it was to make sure that they were recognized. And they didn't understand the concept that they'll always be recognized, that someone's always going to see them, that their light's always going to shine. And people these days, beyond kindergartners, first graders, and second graders, they don't see that. They don't see that they have potential, that they're not a light in this world, that they're not, that they don't see that they're going to, that they don't see that they're recognized right now as is.
Right.
And that's the problem. They're always thinking about, I have right now, I have this opportunity, which isn't really an opportunity, but they're like, I have what's in front of me. No one can take that away from me. And they need to understand that I see you, that you see them, that they are being recognized, and their time's going to come. So I want to say that it might not be this second, but tomorrow could be your shot. At the end of the day, my underlying thing is everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So if you're not front stage, if you're not CEO today, don't worry. God has something better for you in store. God has something else that's gonna change your life. That's gonna make that impact that you're looking for right now. And it's a matter of timing. It certainly is a matter of timing. You can't just sit back, or you can't just push people out of the way and say, this is my time to shine, because it's going to mess up what that potential will lead to for the future. So you can't be impatient. You have to be patient. And that's one of the fruit of the spirits that we learned growing up. Like we have to be patient. So if it takes 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years, whatever it may be. It takes time. It's all about patience. Yeah. And I don't want to keep prolonging this, but I want this reminds me of one of my favorite Bible stories is Job. Job was put through tests, trials, and fires. And,
we talked about it. Yep.
Wow.
Listen, the spirit is not. Listen, the spirit is the spirit. We all have unique qualities about us, but when we after that prayer, like I said, when you open your heart to allow that spirit to flow through, it's like this. Our spirits are dancing right now. So some things that I'm
holding hands.
It's like some things that me and Ty may have talked about weeks ago before we brought Divon on.
Yeah,
it's still alive in our spirits because that's what's going on.
Wow.
So what Divon is about to speak on, we spoke on this, and we're gonna hear. I'm telling you, this stuff just works together. All things work together. All things.
Wow.
And it's like isn't. Like we're going to learn new things. We're going to learn, but it's like, it's all going to come down to the same universal laws that God put in place.
Wow.
So continue your story, man. I'm sorry.
Wow. That's all I can say. But yeah, you guys are familiar with the story. Job was twisted, turned, bent, whatever it might have been, bruised, battered, thrown through the fire.
Sheesh.
And yet you may try him. He came forth as gold. It didn't matter what it was, but Job had the patience. Job had the trust. Job had the obedience to God. Yeah. And at the end, when it was his time, when his patience paid off, he got more than what he ever hoped and dreamed to have. He got more than what he thought he was destined for because God's a provider.
Yeah.
And like I said, people don't understand that. Those kids that are pushing right now, they don't understand that God's going to provide for them. They don't understand that God has his timing right. It's not about your timing. It's not about 10:23 p.m. right now. I don't care how late it is. It doesn't matter what the time may look like.
Right.
But God's on his timing.
Oh, yeah.
Not yours.
And there's no better timing.
No better timing than God's timing.
He told us he was going to preach.
Can I get an amen?
Yes, you can, brother.
Amen.
He told us he was going to preach. Hey, I feel like I'm sitting in the pews, man. I feel like this is 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I always have to get up to check things. We don't have a lighting person. We don't have an audio person. It's just me just rolling around like, is this good? Is that good or whatever? But anyways, man, you said you were going to preach and boy, did you preach. So like, let's talk about what you're getting into as of right now, like with South Plainfield and how you're running.
Yeah.
Are you like, if you win this, are you going to be the youngest to ever do it?
Yeah. In South Plainfield, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's major.
20 years old.
Wow. So thinking about South Plainfield, right? Obviously, you, like I said, when we were introducing you, you're a pillar in the South Plainfield community. And I got to see it firsthand because for people who are listening, you probably see the video later, but I actually got to walk around with Divon at the Labor Day parade that was extended into
festivities, the Labor Day parade festivities.
And I mean, he's just walking around and it's just like everybody, hey, Divon, how you doing? It's like everywhere he went, it was always somebody that knew him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, I feel like in terms of what we're talking about, I feel like they didn't just know Divon, but they knew the spirit that you're carrying with you everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's contagious. So I want to ask you some questions about like the environment of South Plainfield, what it was like growing up and what you plan on doing as the next board member.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up my whole life, my siblings, my mom, my grandparents, I believe their parents also. So we've been here for quite some time.
Right.
But growing up, that was my community. I'm still proud to be there. I'm still proud to be able, like, even when I'm knocking on doors, talking to people, I say, I want to give back to this community that has given so much to me. And I hit on it that I received scholarships from different local organizations, or I was a part of the wrestling program, the football program, the music program, extracurriculars in the school. but whatever it might have been, I know I always received endless support. And it's that support that I had that really motivated me to do more. I know as a student, I ran for class president one time. I lost, unfortunately, but it was really, I want to do more. I want to be able to be more than just a student. I want to be a part of this community. I want to just continue to grow where I was. So I went away for school right after college, right after high school. I went away to the University of Scranton for school. And when I came home after one semester because I realized that school wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But when I came home, I told my mom, I missed my community.
Right.
I missed home. And it was that turning point that I enrolled at the local community college. And even though I was there, I applied for things in town. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit. But as soon as the tail end, I'd like to say that's where we are, but who knows? We just got to continue trusting science at this point, and continue trusting the Lord, of course. But where I am, I was like, this is the perfect situation. We can only move up from here. And I said, I want to be a part of that moving upward, that upward motion that we're going in. So that's where I was. That was my mindset going into this. And at the end of the day, I like to say, win or lose, I'm ruffling feathers. I'm certainly making some movement in the water.
Exactly.
Because I've knocked on doors and people have said, you're so young, you're so passionate, you're so caring. People like you are either just playing video games, watching sports, playing sports, or going to school. And at the time I was just I'm still doing all of that.
Exactly.
Trying to balance all of that. So it's really just having these people go out and understand things. Like some people haven't even heard of Board of Education races before. They were like, what do they do? Who are these people? Like why is your name on the ballot? What are you trying to do? And just being able to explain that to people, to give people a reason to vote, is something that's super important to me. The individuals that died during Freedom Summer, I made a video on my Instagram saying that it was my first time was so important voting because my ancestors, people that look like me, no longer than 60, 70 years ago, were killed when they just wanted to vote, when all they wanted to do was vote. So for me, being able to be on the ballot for the first time is so exciting and so brings me cheer because, like I said, people who literally look like me were not able to even vote.
Right.
So to give people of all backgrounds a reason to vote is life-changing to me.
Wow. I mean, that just
powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
I like how he recognizes all his support. You know, a lot of people would have easily been like, you know, I don't get enough support because the color of my skin, things of that nature. No, Devon didn't do that. Devon is staying humble and seeing the people that's looking out for him, and that's going to go out and vote for him, and that's important, brother.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I remember just like I said this before. Hopefully people will see it when the video comes out, but the way that you were just so well received, it's like bro, like literally going into it, I'm like, okay, my boy Divon is doing something great. Or no, I was like, okay, my boy Divon is doing something good.
Yeah.
But then when I went there and I physically saw how you were received, how you're just walking around and people are coming up to you, and you know, I was like, okay, Divon is really doing something great. Like, and it's regardless of what happens, it's like the energy's out there, man. Yeah. You already put it out there, and regardless of where you go next month, next year, years from now, it's out there. And I mean, it's just it's inspiring to me, and me and you are in the same age bracket.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like you really are creating charge, and what we can learn from people like you are to just be true to ourselves. You're not doing something that you just woke up one day and like, okay, I want to do this. This is something that you admitted your mother trained you for.
Yeah.
You had support to learn who you are. You grew up in the church, you had things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
with that being said, you hit on the note that I'm creating charge. It's not me creating it. I just inherited it.
And you're giving it off to the next person.
Yes.
Right. Yep. And that's what electricity is all about. If you hold on to that electricity, you will fry, but it's about taking it in and redirecting it to the next person so that people can feel the energy. And that's what you're doing, man. And that's what we hope to do with this podcast.
Yeah.
Now,
we're just conductors in the cycle.
Exactly. We're just conductors.
That's what we talk about.
We talked about that before.
That's crazy.
Yep. So, okay. For people who don't know about politics, you already gave us you gave us a great reason to vote.
Yeah.
And we talked about how the system is pretty much broken. But with enough people like you, we can, bring this thing together and really create a better future for ourselves.
Yeah.
How do I say? Like, what advice would you give somebody who's like kind of where, like, that wants to go where you're going, but it's like they're on the fence because, sometimes I feel like we are our own worst enemies, because if you listen to sometimes barbershop talk or your aunt or somebody, like people, those type of black folks,
they want to bring you down.
It's like it's complaint after complaint after complaint. It's like, why the hell would I even? It's like casting a rock into the ocean. It's like, why would I even?
Fair.
Yeah. And it's a lot of that in our community. And we haven't here on this podcast, we haven't really talked much about the black community in particular. We usually focused on just spiritual things, but it's something that I'm so glad you brought that to the table because we could speak on it. How, like, people like what you're doing, there are people that look like us that would be like, I don't know what this young man, young, you know what I mean? Like our own people would do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're right.
Yeah, but how can we change that? I feel like we're so used to settling to sit in the back of the bus that when somebody like you or somebody who's young, who's trying to fight for that seat that's rightfully theirs, they're getting ridiculed, not by the people who are taking a seat, but by their own people who are like giving that to somebody else.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it? And what is your advice for somebody who might be going through that?
Absolutely. I'm not into gambling, but a wise man once said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So what's the worst thing that can happen?
Right.
Ask yourself that. What's the worst thing that can happen if you don't do it? Now, what's the worst thing that can happen if you do it?
Wow.
So you could either sit back and say, I might lose. I might not be able to make an impact. I might not be able to help others along the way. Then who is? If it's not you, then who?
Right.
If you're not willing to step out of your comfort zone and take that big leap, take that big step, who's going to do it?
Who's gonna even trust you? Who's gonna trust you to lead them if you're scared to take the shot or step into your own shoes?
Yeah.
And people can smell fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a strong smell.
It is. And I'm not even gonna lie. I don't sense any fear coming off of you. It's almost like, it's like, and there's no need to fear when you're doing what you were created to do. There's no confusion. That's just who you are.
Yeah.
That's the true essence of Divon. It's no reason to fear. And man, we just learned so much today. I mean, I was just sitting, literally, I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I feel like I'm learning and I'm being charged myself. Yeah. And this was great. So so you're a candidate, you're running for the South Plainfield Board of Education.
Yes, sir.
Now, obviously, this is just a South Plainfield type of this only people who live in South Plainfield can vote for. Yeah. But I feel like you said, social media, message. Right? Yeah, it's a message that we're trying to get out. At the end of the day, it's not about South Plainfield education. This is about impact. And this is what Divon is all about. You're gonna be the same person whether you live in South Plainfield, whether you move out of New Jersey and move to another state, New York, whatever. That message is still gonna go with you.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody to obviously support this episode, but support Devon. You can follow him on Instagram, and what other platforms do you use?
Instagram at the official DP3.
Yes, sir.
Facebook is just my name, Devon Pinder. Instagram, like I said, the official DP3. LinkedIn, whatever it may be. And if at the end of the day you can't find me, Malachi knows where to find me.
Exactly.
Ty knows where to find me.
Exactly.
You guys can reach out to them and they'll be happy to direct you. They have my personal information.
Right.
I am willing to share it if I can help you in any way, shape, or form. I'm as transparent as I could be. If you want to sit down and talk, let's talk. Right. I'm here. Let's talk.
Absolutely. And I definitely will be putting all of your information in the show notes and in the description of YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. And yeah, but I encourage you guys to not only connect with us, but connect with Devon. I mean, it's so much that, like, I feel like this podcast is only the tip of the iceberg. Dude, like, you're 20 years old. I'm 19 years old. There's so much that we don't know yet. And there's so much education that we're going to have the opportunity to have going forward. So who knows, we might be bringing you back on Infinite Charge in 5 years, and you might.
No, we are. It's definitely a part 2 to this, man.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
We have to do it.
Bro.
We have to do it.
And it doesn't have to be 5 years. Hey, call me anytime. You know where I'll be.
Exactly.
I'll be a guest of a guest.
Yeah. I mean, this was just so great. Yep. So I can also be reached on Instagram at Malachi White with the E as a 3. And
they know Ty.
Yep. And that on Instagram. And man, if you live in South Plainfield, vote for Devon. If you don't live in South Plainfield, get in contact with Devon, get in contact with his socials, and just like, because he one thing I can say about you, you are every bit of a conductor. Like when we talk about the whole idea of infinite charge, electricity, spreading it, like, bro, like, you are a major conductor. Like if on a scale of, okay, let's say like a small fork or a small knife, because metal has properties to conduct electricity, I would say you're like a power plant, dude. Wow. That's what I would say. Like you really are everything that God has called you to be. And I think the blessing is that you know it and you're just following this path. And I'm so great to be able to have met you and to call you my friend. And this was, man, of course, I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Ty, I got you one too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing it, man?
Yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 9 of the Infinite Charge podcast. Be easy, stay charged.
We got quick 30 seconds still. I want to add something to that real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
One phone call that I had with Malachi, I told him that I'm a lift as you climb mentality kind of person. And that goes with anything.
Right.
Like I said, if you just reach out in anything, like even if it's something as simple as schoolwork that you're struggling with, if I don't know the subject, I'll help you get someone that knows the struggle, the school, the subject. Yeah, not the struggle. But I just want to lift us all up, regardless of what you look like.
Exactly.
You can be black, purple, whatever you are.
Yeah.
But we need to grow together. We need to grow and go together. We can't just absorb everything and just be a sponge and take up space. We need to go. Once we have that information, we need to move. We need to be out somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about.
I love it. We definitely need a part 2. And pretty much he's asking for a part 2. We need to do it. Yep. So
begging for it right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, this was awesome.
This is great, man.
This was great. This was great. Yep. So this has been episode 9 of the Infinite Charge podcast. Be easy, stay charged.
Most importantly, stay blessed, man.